So Konami are a bunch of trolls. Right. I've been looking into this branded list for the past couple weeks, and I even pulled more from the selection pack so I could pull a third Quem. Since, you know, normal branded doesn't actually use 3 Quem. Only this branded list, this type of branded list right here uses 3 Quem. So yeah, the day of that I pulled the third Quem from the selection pack, Konami dropped that ban list. And that ban list limited this thing right here. So this feels like a personal attack to like me and like maybe like the dozen other people who played branded quote-unquote synchro instead of pure branded fusion. Because the Saronir hit, what it doesn't do is it doesn't really do jack shit to regular branded. Okay, like this is a, oh no, this is about the, this is the 10th different branded high spirits target and card that fusion material that you can fuse with Cartagia to get branded fusion. Like, oh no, so, sir, what other card could I possibly replace the Saronir with? Also, a lot of builds weren't even running triple Saronir, especially the non-city card builds, because frankly with super heavy samurai in the meta, Bystials aren't even that good as hand traps anymore, because if the most played represented deck you can play against is a deck that Bystials are dead against, maybe you want to consider cutting them down. Unfortunately, that's not an option for this deck, because this deck, Branded Synchro right here, it has to use Bystials as extenders, regardless if these cards were not quick effects, and they couldn't be used on your opponent's turn. Well, first of all, I mean, this deck would be kind of bad, but secondly, you would still have to play these cards, because these are level 6 dark non-tuners that pair with your level 4 tuner monsters to make your level 10 Synchro your Bystial Dissipator. And this Branded Synchro always has to max on Saronir, because Saronir, unlike with something like Dragon Link, Saronir is the best Bystial for Branded Synchro builds. Because, again, this is a branded deck, so it runs branded spell traps, so, you know, Saronir being able to dump branded spell traps, or being able to dump Bystial Aluber, which Bystial Aluber counts as Fallen Velbass, into the grave so that you can special summon Cartagia. Like, all of your best combos start with Bystial Saronir, and you want to hard open this, right? But no, the Konami just gives normal brand a tap on the wrist, and then kills the lesser played, weaker version of the deck. You know, thank you very much. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit. I don't think this deck is unplayable post Saronir limit. It's not like you're going from 3 copies of Saronir to 1. You're going from 6 copies to 4 with because Rebellion exists. So it's not that you're never gonna see Saronir. You're still going to see it a decent amount, just less often. So you're losing a bit of consistency there. And it has a niche of, if Branded Despia, the fusion version of Branded, is one of the best decks in the format, then this deck has a great matchup against regular Branded Despia, because you run way more Bystials than they do. In fact, I'm running literally the maximum amount of Bystials you're allowed to run. Like, Jesus Christ, Master Duel limited 3 separate Bystial names. Like, can you fucking believe that? Okay, yeah, whatever. But because you have 6 Bystials plus 3 more that you can search on your turn with Bystial Rebellion, you should, mathematically, you should have that matchup in check. And also, if they're on 60, that's even... They're not running anywhere near as many Bystials, and their deck's less consistent since they're running more cards in it, so... Yeah. And I have been beating regular brand all day with this build, so... That's still nice, that's still gonna be a thing this deck has. So I guess I'll explain the differences between this and the standard branded build and what this deck's really trying to go for. So, Branded Fusion right here, this card is a bait. In fact, because this is limited to 1, this Branded Fusion is actually a brick, if you can believe it or not. You would rather have this in deck than to hard draw this card. You don't want to start with Branded Fusion. If you have a hand that's weak enough to where you have to rely on Branded Fusion, one, that this deck is not suited to, you know, protecting the Branded Fusion, play around Branded Fusion, right? So if your only play is Branded Fusion and it gets ashed, then, well, you can't really do anything, because you can't link summon and you can't synchro summon, which is kind of the plan A of this deck, right? In fact, this Branded Fusion, 90% of the time, you're not activating this. You're sending it to grave off Verte. And Verte is an insane card. It's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest reason why this deck is good. And it's one of the benefits that this version of Branded has over the other standard Branded versions, because that version can't really go into Verte because it's so focused on Branded Fusion and playing around Branded Fusion that Verte is, you're going to be locked out of Verte 90% of the time, and it's only really your plan B. But here, the reason why Verte is so insane is because it's honestly probably the best way to actually make Mirror Jade. Because normally the standard way you make Mirror Jade is with, you know, Branded Fusion, and anytime you make Mirror Jade using Branded Fusion, you're usually making it off Lubellion, and when you make Mirror Jade off Lubellion, the Albaz gets shuffled back into the deck. When you make Mirror Jade off of the Verte, you send Branded Fusion, then you send Albaz, and then you send the Verte to the grave to make the Mirror Jade. That way, the Fallen of Albaz is still in the grave, so that now not only do you have the Mirror Jade on the field, Mirror Jade you can immediately send Rinbrum, and then Rinbrum can summon back the Fallen of Albaz, because this was not made of Lubellion. The Fallen of Albaz does not get shuffled into the deck, so it's still engraved for you to be able to abuse with the Rinbrum as another interruption. And then depending on what you can make, what you fuse off of the Fallen Albaz, you know, there's good targets here like Furious Dragon, or if they have lighter drugs, you can go into Albion or Lubellion yourself, and then go into something like a Dragon Stapelia. The Albaz can turn into 2 additional interruptions because it fuses up for your opponent's monster and it gives you another fusion with a interruption. So Verte can realistically, just off this one Verte, you can get up to 3 interruptions very easy off of just 2 effect monsters. And Branded Despia, the fusion build, not being able to take advantage of that, like that's the one thing that I don't like about that I like about this version better than the standard build. And you are going to be making Verte in every single one of your combos, or ideally in every single one of your combos in this build. And also because of the existence of Verte, we don't have to run Baron in Master Duel, as opposed to how this deck was played in TCG. And I know you're probably thinking that why the hell are you calling this Branded Synchro when there's literally one Synchro monster in the entire deck? And I agree. Branded Synchro is really not the most accurate description of how this deck plays. In fact, if anything, I would consider this more like, call it Branded Bystial Dragon Link, as opposed to Branded Synchro, because on average you're making Link summons about as much, if not more so, than the Synchro summons itself. And you don't make Baron because the materials you use, anytime you have a way to make Baron, you could have just used this material to make Verte instead. And, you know, Verte, again, 2 to 3 interruptions by itself, that's way better than Baron. So, yeah, but Dispater is still important as part of your combos. The standard end board you'll have is you should try to get as much of Verte plus Regain and Beast with a Dispater engrave that you can revive off the Regain. That's like an average hand if you have access to like Quem and a way to Saronir or a couple Bystials. If you open like a 3-card combo, you can end on Seals plus Verte with Dispater engrave, and then both Seals, and then both a Regain plus Beast, and then you have another Albion Search, and then you have Grand Guardian engrave too if they special summon. It's an incredible amount of disruption. It's actually, like, I think more than even the standard Branded build can make, and like no deck is playing through that. You'll definitely see those combos in the replays that I have for you. And obviously when you're deck building for this deck, you gotta max out on the Quem and the Cartasia, because these are your level 4 tuners. You need these to start your main combo lines. And the Bystial Aluber is also another tuner that relevant is that if you don't have a tuner already, you can Bystial Lubellion for a level 4 tuner as well, and not just a standard Bystial. That's you know, the standard Bystial. The packages that played synchros with the Bystial cards, like Branded Synchro and Bystial Runic, they all run Bystial Aluber, and as I mentioned, it's also something you can dump off Saronir to get a Fallen of Albaz engrave, so that you can special Cartasia to also extend your plays. And the standard, You notice this deck is not running Called by the Grave or Cross-out Designator, because this deck again is not reliant on Branded Fusion. There's not really one individual choke point that's really easy to identify, especially since nobody is going to suspect that you're actually playing Branded Synchro in the first place. Like, you normal summon Quem, and they have Ash. They are 99% of the time gonna hold the Ash for the Branded Fusion that you're never activating, because they're gonna who's gonna assume that you're playing Branded Synchro, especially in a ban list with one Saronir. Like, nobody is gonna assume that. So people, not only is there not a designated choke point in this deck as compared to the regular mana build, people are not gonna know that you're playing this build in the first place. So they're just gonna hand trap it be wrong anyways. Oh yeah, that's another advantage of playing this deck. And it plays okay into Maxi. Obviously, this doesn't play into Maxi as well as regular Branded does, because no deck in the game plays as well into Maxi as that deck. But you can usually, if they max you at like an awkward point, you can either make something like a Seals, or I mean, probably not Verte, but sometimes you can make Seals with just one additional draw, so your Seals passing like Dragon Link out here. Or also, if you have a Cartasia on the field already, you can just not fusion, because the way you're summoning Bystials first. So if they're gonna chain Maxi, they're gonna chain Maxi to your Bystial most likely, and not to your Cartasia effect. And that way you have your Cartasia effect that you can use to fuse on your opponent's turn and do stuff on your opponent's turn to try and live. Also, if you have Quem on the field, it makes it awkward for your opponent to commit into your extra. They have to basically enter battle phase to clear the Quem first as a threat, and before they start doing their plays. So you're gonna live a turn off of Maxi during the time. Also, yeah, you do run Bystial, so you're also probably not gonna die off the Maxi. And also, this deck plays really well under Droll and Lockbird. You can do entire combo lines that do not search at all. In fact, sometimes you're gonna see that I got Drolled off the Lubellion, and my opponent basically just hand looped themselves for one. And yeah, that obviously means you can comfortably Droll yourself under Maxi, and then just continue playing that way, and your opponent is, and you're completely fine off that. It doesn't hinder your combo really that much at all. And yeah, for the tech one-ofs, the stuff like Tragedy and Mercury, they're basically targets for Goldstark and Foolish, so that you can have more copies of Quems, so, you know, for consistency. And Branded and White is the best follow-up you have. Plus, like, the follow-up in this deck is incredible, because you're sending Branded Fusion off Verte. You can have Branded Fusion in Grave, so you can always just have any way to dump Retribution into the Grave, or if you already Foolish a Tragedy, then you can just get Branded Fusion for next turn after you've done your Link plays, because after turn 1 and you've gone through your Link plays, that's when you can start taking advantage of Branded Fusion, since you no longer really need to link anymore after you've already made your Vertes and your Dissipators. And yeah, Branded White, also amazing follow-up, also really easily searchable on the follow-up turns. This Branded Red, honestly, you don't really use Branded Red. It's like probably the weakest Branded spell trap you can search, but you know, if I have extra copies of Albaz or extra copies of Cartasia or Quem in hand, then I can just set Branded Red off the Albion, and that way you can make Albion the Sanctifier Dragon, since you need a Fallen Albaz plus a light Spellcaster monster. And then by doing that, you also play around evenly. Not that evenly really even matters anymore. There's not a single board breaker in the game that breaks your board, and like doesn't like any single board breaker to use, they're still going to have to deal with 3 to 4 interruptions after they resolve it. Usually, if you have any half-decent combo. But, you know, just having another option just completely negate the evenly match is also pretty funny. And I did add back Guardian Chimera. It's not very standard brand, it's Synchro, but, you know, it does give Branded Red more utility that way too. And you need the Retribution in the Beast. And the Branded Sword, so this is for the combos where you don't have a Saronir, but you have one of the shitty Bystials, such as Gruus Worm or Baldrake. And I don't know if this was the exactly best line, but if you have Quem plus one of the bad Bystials like Gruus Worm and Baldrake, then you can still end on Verte with a Mercurier in hand. So that you have that whole Mirror Jade with an extra Alabast engraved for Rimbrun, plus you have an extra Mercurial too, if you run the Branded Sword. And that's like 3 to 4 interruptions, so I think that's okay enough to justify running Branded Sword. There are lines where you keep the Mercurial banished, and then, you know, that way you can, your opponent triggers the Grand Guignol for you can Grand Guignol summon the Quem, dump the Branded Sword, and then immediately get the Mercurial back as an interruption in your opponent's turn, you know, stuff like that. It's decent, but you don't have to play this. If you want to go to an even 40, you can cut the Branded Sword. And for the extra deck, so you need all of this. World of Fierce Dragon, so all the Bystials are Dark Dragons, so this is super easy to make. So you gotta run this. You gotta run the 2 Albions, the 2 Mirror Jades, the 1 Rebellion. You don't really, again, be careful. This card fusion locks you when you activate it. So you like Branded Fusion, this is not a card that you really want to go into during your first turn, but it's there. It's a fusion target for Albaz, and yeah, if you go second Branded Fusion and Rebellion, they're okay to make, so then you're using them as board breakers, not as much as your main engine, but you don't want them as your main combo. You notice we're not running stuff like the standard Despia package or kit or any of that stuff. The stuff that basically the majority of the time adds Branded Fusion. We don't really care about adding Branded Fusion like that. Grand Guignol. There's High Spirits. If you run Branded High Spirits, which you definitely can as a way to add more copies of essentially Quem or Cartasia, then you would want to run a second Grand Guignol, since you know, you have a lot of spellcasters to pitch off High Spirits. If you do run that, and you're gonna have to pitch Grand Guignol from your extra deck a lot, and it's good to have the second one if you do. Albion, Stable, Guardian Chimera, and Regulus Appeal. These are the cards majority of time these are going to be things you fuse with extra Cartasias on the field that you summon back off Quem or off of, you know, Branded in Reds occasionally. Well, yeah, Branded in Red with a regain up, that's a drug right there. Dissipator, the only level 10 synchro that you run. This is very important for your combos lines that I'll show you. Seals and Verte we discussed, and Striker Dragon is literally just so that your Bystial Aluber or your Fallen Velbaz, you can put it into the grave so that you could banish it for your Bystial. Since if you open just Fallen Velbaz or Bystial Aluber plus Bystial, you can still make Verte pass. So yeah, the Striker Dragon is there for that, and if you have like the Bellion plus Fallen Velbaz, then you can get an additional search off Branded Lost, or you can end on Regain Beast and Verte. So yeah, it's pretty nice there. Yeah, the best way to show how this deck plays is just watching actual games of playing this deck. So this is going to be showing the best combo line that this deck has, which is Quem plus 2 Bystials, one of them being Saronir. And here, because we have Rebellion, we do have Saronir. So it's going to be Quem, you're going to dump Mercurial for this line. You're going to special Saronir by banishing Mercurial. The Mercurial is going to search your Cartasia. Next, you're going to synchro these two into Dissipator, and then Saronir is going to dump the Bystial Aluber. Because we have Bystial Aluber, okay, first of all, the sequencing is a bit wrong. It's actually, what you should probably do is banish the Bystial Aluber with Baldric first, and then Dissipator summon back the Bystial Aluber, and then make Seals, and then special Blazing Cartasia. That way it plays around Nibiru a bit better. Well, of course, our opponent, obviously, so spoilers, they don't have Nibiru, so this is fine. But just keep in mind that the sequencing is a bit reversed here. Here I summon Cartasia first, and then I Baldric banish the Bystial Aluber, and then Dissipator brings back the Aluber. So again, these two should have been Seals first before I committed those Cartasia, just to play around the Bureau better. But it's alright. The end board is the same. And here we're gonna use Cartasia's effect, and this is what you're gonna be using Cartasia's effect for. And this isn't just a brand single thing. You can do this in normal Branded Despia too. I see a lot of time people have Cartasia and Aluber, or Cartasia plus Albaz, and they don't know what to do with it. So here's one thing you can do with it. You use fusion Cartasia plus Fallen Velbaz, or Bystial Aluber in this case, into Albion. use Albion's effect, banish Cartasia and any Dark to go into Grand Guignol, and then Grand Guignol can dump Fallen of Valbas. If we did not have Lubellion, it would dump the Grand Guignol would dump Lubellion, but since we already had Lubellion, I dumped Fallen of Valbas just for another search. And then you summon back the Lubellion. I place a Branded Beast, and then Albion can dump Regain, which will get back off Beast on the end phase. You're gonna link 2 of these into Seals, and then link the other 2 into Verte Anaconda. And here you go into Mirror Jet by dumping Branded Fusion. And end phase, main phase 3, Branded Beast gets back Regain, and then you get the Albion search for the Branded Red. So what is this end board here? This end board, let's interruption count, I guess. We have Seals, Mirror Jade, Regain, which is gonna bring back Dissipator, Beast plus Branded Red. So that's 5 interruptions on board by itself. Like just on board, okay? That doesn't count for when you use Mirror Jade, you're gonna dump Rinbrum, and Rinbrum can special back Fallen of Valbas, which is another interruption. Then Fallen of Valbas, depending on what you fuse off into, you can potentially fuse into Borolo Furious Dragon, or line into Borolo Furious Dragon, or line into Lubellion into something like a Gravis Stapila. So that's like another interruption. That's like 7 interruptions right there. And then Hieratic Seal, it can search when it bounces something. It also searches something like you can summon a Baldrake from your deck too, and then Baldrake is another interruption number 8. And then if your opponent has the audacity to special summon, the Grand Guignol is also engraved, which means Grand Guignol can special Quem from the deck if they special summon a monster. And then when Quem is summoned, Quem can dump Branded Sword, and then Branded Sword can add back Mercurier as a 9th interruption. And I'm still going, and then you can trigger your Quem with your own Mirror Jade by sending, dumping a Fallen of Valbas fusion, and then that can summon back the Bystial Saronir from grave, or a Fallen of Valbas from grave. So it's like you're dealing with like 8 or 9 interruptions here. I like lost track. I kept counting. Like this, it's insane. There's not a single board breaker because you have interruptions from the monsters, from your back row, from your deck, from your grave, from banish. Like, you got interruptions all over the place. There's not a single board breaker that's going to even deal with half your interruptions. And spoilers, our opponent's going to be playing Enemy Adjuster, so they're actually not going to go play through a single disruption. This is mainly just showing off the combo, I suppose. But yeah, they're going to change apart the Seals, activate Legendary Ocean, then normal summon Kaiushin. How does Umi beat out a single Mirror Jade? Someone let me know. And they're gonna enter battle phase, and they can't even get rid of the seal. You're gonna take 3k to crash the seals. I'm like, okay, so end phase, this Kaiushin's gone, and then Albion could get me branded in white. Branded in white. Excellent follow up. Banish 2, draw off Regain, then we draw Lost. And yeah, it's. I mean, no deck was gonna play through that, especially not Ubi control. Alright, so next game, this is we drew the just as cracked of a hand, even more cracked because we have the Regain on the field. But here, after we go Lubellion to search Saronir, we actually get Droll. So here's how much Droll does to us. Okay, so Quem, I'm gonna dump Albion because there's no point dumping Mercurier because frankly Mercurier you can't search anyways. So I figured I just dump the Albion, special Saronir. Then I'm gonna synchro into Dissipator, and then Saronir will dump a Branded Sword, I guess, and then Dissipator's gonna bring back Albion, and then we're gonna sack off the Albion for the Bystial Lubellion, and then Lubellion is gonna place Branded Beast. I can use Branded Albion to send Branded White because we already have the Regain, so if we didn't have the Regain, that's how we access the Regain. But we can just add Branded White as follow-up for the end phase. We go into Verte Anaconda. Since we couldn't add Cartasia during our combo, I just kept the Baldrake in hand. Maybe Baldrake is randomly good against the matchup, but also it's just another interruption. Then you make Mirror Jade and go end phase. Branded White sets itself because it was sent off more form on Valbas, and this is still. I mean, you can ignore the Max D here, but Mirror Jade, Branded Beast, Regain to bring back Dissipator, and then a Baldrake in hand to banish either your opponent's or our or from our grave to trigger to make the Dissipator alive. And also keep in mind, Baldrake has a effect where your opponent summons from the extra deck, you can tribute a monster, you can tribute the Mirror Jade. And when you tribute the Mirror Jade, that means the fallen Valbaz that you can summon back after Ringbrum can now make a second Mirror Jade, because you can only control one Mirror Jade, so that's one way to get it off the field and just to get more versatility in your fusions. So our opponent's gonna activate throw a Rhino, not activate its effect. Not search anything. I wonder what's in their hand. I wonder what Visa Starfront's in their hand, okay? So they're gonna Cloud Rykard, not trigger its effect. Well, what a nice hand. They drew both search targets for their Rykard and their Purple Rhino. So yeah, we're gonna Mirror Jade away the Rykard because that's gonna end the turn. Except they have the Droplet anyway, so it's actually not gonna end the turn. They're gonna negate the Mirror Jade. Thinking. So now I know they're gonna link summon, so I'm gonna just special the Baldrake. And as they go into Lightheart, I'm gonna use Baldrake to sack the Mirror Jade to banish the Lightheart. And if they don't control a Scareclaw monster, then they can't special summon whatever they add off Reichphobia anyways. And they're gonna search Reichphobia, and you're gonna use it, and you're gonna search Scareclaw Castera. And when I use Scareclaw Castera, we're just gonna pop it with Dissipator. And keep in mind, we still had the Albaz engraved to summon off Ringbrum. We still had the Branded Beast. I didn't even flip the Maxi. So yeah, this is and obviously the follow up on the next turn kills them. This deck has what's the strongest follow up in the game. So in this game, we're going second, and our opponent sets 4. Now, funnily enough, as long as our opponent's not on stun, if they're on one of the 2 popular back row decks, both the 2 most popular back row decks are weak to Bystials, funnily enough. As you'll see. So you're gonna regain and they're gonna flip Dinomorphia Domain. And unfortunately for them, this is just the absolute worst matchup for them in the world. So they're gonna go into Kentrigina, and here I'm gonna Lubellion, I'm gonna search Truce Worm, just outs Dinomorphia, outs Rex Term. They're gonna use Kentrigina, and I'm gonna special Saronir, and I'm gonna chain Baldrake. So the reason I do this was because I thought my dumbass thought, oh, this is gonna be cool. I'm gonna get Baldrake on the field when they summon Rexterm, then I can sack Saronir to ban the Rexterm. And I'm like, and then after I activated it, I thought for a second, and I'm like, wait, Rexterm has text on the card. Huh. So they're gonna go into Rexterm, and because the Baldrake has 2,500 attack, and they have 2k life points. I can't actually use the Baldrake, so that was a whoopsie by me. That was a brain fart moment. So I'm gonna also regain, put back their Diplo to draw a card, and I'm gonna Druid's Worm, and they're gonna alert. Didn't know they were actually on this, and that's gonna block my Druid's Worm, unfortunately. But you know, we gotta do what you gotta do. Tribute Druid's Worm and send the Bystial Aluber off Saronir, and special Lubellion, and then Lubellion is gonna send Rexterm, right? No, actually I haven't read Misk, so unfortunate there. And you know, we're gonna try to just keep chewing through interruptions. Seals, by the way, Seals also destroys Dinomorphia because it has 0 attack, so they're actually gonna have to Solemn Judgment the Seals. Yeah, there's just like 20 different random outs to Rexterm that this deck has that other decks just don't have, and they're not going to be able to go for a game because you know they're like down to 4 cards. And end phase, we're going to Baldrake, banish the Seals, and put back the Seals just as another out, and then draw a card, draw into Albion. So we're going to draw another card off that, and we draw Ash. You know, if they have another alert for some reason, we're going to send Branded Sword. We're going to use Kentrigina's effect on the Dinomorphia alert for effect damage. Oh, sorry, not effect. That's not the effect damage, but it's to bring back Diplos. That was a mistake. That was incredibly greedy. Why do not? This is a serious misplay because I have regain on the field, and people don't keep that in mind. And because of that, they're summoning back Diplos for like basically no reason. I get to summon the Druid's Worm back. So, thank you very much. You just outed your own Rexterm, and obviously we're gonna sack the Druid's Worm for the Lubellion, and then the Rexterm is gone. They're gonna have the Lubellion's attack, and put their Kenjina on 39-37 ass life points. Thank God I'm not doing manual math for this. I'm gonna get Branded Beast, I'm gonna sack and pop another Branded back row so that they only have one back row left. Special Cartasia, and then Cartasia, you're gonna fuse out the Tragedy. Normally drawing Tragedy is a brick, but if you have a way to special summon Cartasia, then you can actually just go Grand Guignol, and then the Tragedy will search the Quem for you. And because you haven't used your normal summon yet, you can normal summon Quem, and then dump Fallen Balbaz. Link these two into Verte. They have to deal with this, because otherwise Verte is going to wreck their board, which they have a reversion to copy Solemn Warning. So there goes the Verte. Unfortunately, it already left my extra decks. That's going to trigger the Quem to bring back Fallen Balbaz, and then that's going to let us fuse with the Kenjina, which is now at 39-68 life points, or attack points. And then you have the Mirror Jade. So we have the Mirror Jade, banish the Diplos, attack directly. They have one. Well, I'm going to draw a card first, draw 4 cards off Regain Balanced. Reversion is going to block one attack, but Quem is going to kill them on the other. And even if they didn't, you know, we had the Albion search in the end base anyway, so we had another search to drop, so they were going to do anything, even if they lived. So here we have a game versus the other Branded build. And this hand is like unbelievable. All it's missing is a Bystial. So we're going to max their fusion deployment, and they're on 60s, so they don't have as many outs to max C, or they don't open it as often. They do have Brand opening though, so they did open the God combo. Dumping a Snow, what the hell is that? Snow and Branded in 2024. So Alibur is gonna search some Brand fusion, and this Brand fusion don't do. I'm not even bothering Drolling. Drolling, it's only good against Branded Despia if they lead with Albion the Shrouded Dragon to draw a random card. Otherwise, Droll doesn't really do too much, and honestly, it's gonna hurt you because you max eat them. So yeah, this Brand fusion is getting ashed. And they can still do something with it, because they have the Cartasia on board. They can go into Grand Guignol, and then Grand Guignol is going to dump Titanic Cloud, and then end phase Titanic Cloud is going to summon Quem, and then Quem is going to dump Fallen Balbaz. And then Cartasia adds it back to hand. So even through a Brand fusion, this is okay. They have like a couple interruptions here. They have the Grand Guignol, assuming they play a Lulu Lilith or another one got to summon off Quem. And Quem can bring back a Fallen Balbaz to fuse with me, and they have the Snow that they pitched that they're running for some reason. So it's not a slam dunk that we win this even through resolving Ash. And I'm going to activate a Regain. Normal Fallen Balbaz activates effect, it gets max seed. So here, I don't actually Ash this max seed. My reasoning is I could hold it for the Grand Guignol so that they have no actual interruptions, and I can Droll myself, right? So here's an example of me resolving Droll as anti-maxi, and I'm gonna Droll on the special summon, their first draw, so they don't get any more value off of it, and then we're gonna fuse Albaz and Quem into Sanctifier, just to. The Sanctifier is not the important part. We're just entering battle phase to clear their Grand Guignol, and then main phase 2. Here's the benefit of not being chained to Branded Fusion. You can link it off into Verte, so you can just link off the Albion into a Verte directly, and then get it in the grave easily like that, and then make a Mirror Jade. So now we have Mirror Jade. Well, their Grand Guignol, they're gonna attempt to summon it. That's what I saved the Ash for, so that they didn't really have anything. And yeah, this is still pretty good. Through a max C, we have Mirror Jade, Albion setting Branded Retribution, which is really strong in this matchup, plus extra Fallen Balbaz and Grave that can summon back off Rainbow. And Drolling as anti-maxes, they only have 4 cards, one of them being Cartasia. And they pass. Excellent. And now I'm gonna brand it in white, and they're gonna have a second maxi, and I'm like, that's annoying, but we can probably kill them if they don't have anything. And I'm gonna go into Warlord Furious Dragon so that I can draw a card off Regain as well. And I'm gonna activate Lubellion to add Magnum. Insane draw, by the way. Magnum with Banter Snow, and they have Super Poly. So they actually did have something. The Super Poly kind of wrecks my shit. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't playing around that, so whoopsie. Here comes the Stapelia, and then the Magnum that's gonna banish the snow, and I'm gonna get a search. But I'm under max C, and right now, so I can easily get Branded Fusion back with this Tragedy that we've dumped and fused with turn 1. It can just banish the setback for Branded Fusion, but I can't really kill them now through the Drago Stapelia. With what's it called? With Brand Opening Grave. So I'm just gonna pass and add another Bystial in hand. I'm playing Bystial Control, and that's gonna banish the opening for the Drago Stapelia. And they're gonna activate Fusion Deployment. You know, we have the Brand Retribution set, so again, we have a negate for their 1 push, so they still have their mini cards in their hand. And we're gonna put back the Mirror Jade, I'm gonna put back the Albion, and then they're gonna lose the Fallen Alabast, so they still have no engine. And they're gonna kill the Magnum, and going to end phase, we're gonna Baldrake. Here's where I start putting my stuff back. Put back the Verte, and then draw a card. And they're gonna Stapelia to make my Bystials level 1, which is smart, because I still have Rebellion in Grave. So by making them level 1, I can't tribute them for Rebellion. And I'm gonna activate another Rebellion, and go into Saronir. And I'm gonna special Saronir, banishing my Portal Fierce Dragon, put that back, draw another card. And they're gonna Drago Stapelia that, so you know I still can't summon back my Rebellion. But you know this deck runs the max number of Bystials, so we draw into another Bystial. So finally I can get to summon back my Rebellion and then go to town. So yeah, that's it's kind of played the max C mirror for a couple turns, but then we took it over with Bystials. Yeah, really fun deck, and over the last 2 BANLISTs, this happens to be the deck that's been possibly hit the most out of any other deck. You know, you got the Saronir limit, and you know when the Chaos Ruler went away, this was the deck that got hurt the most by Chaos Ruler, because all the other decks I played, they have Hell Extenders, even Dragon Link. You know, they have enough extenders to play without needing the Chaos Ruler. This deck only has a few special summons with the Bystials, so like having the extra body of Chaos Ruler was really helpful. You could make Seals and Verte Anaconda off of 2 cards, which the banning of Chaos Ruler, you cannot do any 2-card combo that ends on both Seals and Verte. It's only 3-card combos now. So yeah, this was the deck that arguably got hurt most by Chaos Ruler ban, and now it's the deck that got hurt by the most by the Bystial Saronir ban. What's next? If they're, you know, if there's a pattern and they're just going to hit random cards like hit this deck, you know, Verte's gone next. You know, sorry, buddy, you're up next.